Hey, Tony Gaskins here, popping in. Now, want to address this question I get a lot of times, and somebody asked it last week, I think, in the Instagram Q&A, and then when I answered her question, I got a lot of messages saying, Tony, we told you, men not approaching us, men not approaching us. And so I want to go through with five of the biggest reasons men aren't approaching women today. And some of them are very obvious, as you would guess, but I think it still needs to be said so you can understand. And then also, I want to help you understand the reason a man will approach you and why you should only be worried about the man who is willing to approach you. So, the number one reason men are not approaching women right now in most places in the world is, as you guess, mask. So, the thing with 90% of men are visual creatures. So, being a visual creature, it really matters to a man and a lot of women what a person looks like. And as you know, a whole lot can happen from here to here. And it really can throw the attraction totally to the left. So a lot of men are really afraid to approach a woman just based off of her body, her walk, her aura, her hair. Although some men, they're going to take that chance and shoot their shot, and you can kind of guesstimate. Now, I have been thrown for a loop a few times to where I guessed what a person looked like without their mask. And then when they take the mask off, male and female, not anything sexual, but just guessed what a person looked like. And then when they take that mask off, uh, things change. And so, understanding that is a fear that humans, male and female, have today. So you first got to understand that. And if you're in a place to where the mask can come off and you feel comfortable with taking it off, then that could increase your chances of being approached as a woman. So understand that and realize that that's kind of going to be the way of the world as long as the masks are required. Some states don't require them, but some people still choose to wear them, and rightfully so. So if you are wearing a mask because you have to, or if you don't have to but you still choose to just to be safe, then that will definitely be one of the reasons, if everything else about you that can be seen isn't to his liking. So understand that and really, get it in your mind. Now, the second reason I would say men today are not approaching women is because of social media and online dating sites. It's really hard, and when you think about it, it's really hard for someone to want to go through the stress and the worry and the anxiety and all of these things to overcome something, to overcome all of those nerves when there's a much easier option in life. As humans, we typically prefer the path of least resistance. So for a man to approach a woman, it takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of nerve because of how men have seen women react. Some men approach a woman and the woman laughs in his face. Some women go off on the man. Some women, are very rude and condescending. Some women get tired of being approached and it shows. And so this man his feelings are basically hurt. And so because of these experiences, ever since grade school, a lot of men would rather just meet their woman through a DM on social media. So you have Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You got all these places where you can send a private message to a woman. And then also you have online dating. So with all these apps and all these websites that you could do online dating, it's so much easier for the male mind to get the courage to send a message. because sending a message it takes a whole lot less than walking up to somebody. And when you send a message, nobody sees the message on your end, the man's end, except for him. So if the woman laughs, if the woman rejects him, no one has to know. If he approaches you in person, everybody gets to see and hear you tell him no. And that's extremely, extremely embarrassing and demoralizing for anyone to go through. Every human hates rejection. So today, social media and online dating have cut into a large chunk of men approaching women. I would venture to say 50% decrease in men approaching women, if not more. Because when you're walking around in your city, it's only a certain selection. It's only a certain demographic. It's only a certain amount of people. But when you go on the World Wide Web, a message can connect you with someone on the other side of the world. So now your dating pool is so much more vast as a man, because he could be in podunk random state and then connect with a woman in beauty alley amazing state, and they talk, and women are so open to long distance relationship, so into it. He could be talking to this woman who there's nothing like her in his city, and he finds that interesting. He might not even end up liking the woman, may break up with her, but that's so interesting and intriguing and so easy and so available to him that he just would rather go that route. So that's the second really big reason, and we really have to get to that place to where you start to understand that social media and online dating is really affecting things in a very real way. Now, the third reason I would say men are not approaching women today is because of the division between the sexes. So what we have is we have this, whatever you would call it, manosphere, womanosphere. You have this femininity movement by women, which is largely toxic femininity, because a woman can have on construction boots and Wranglers and still be more feminine than a woman in 6-inch heels with a bandage dress to a man. And that's what a lot of women don't understand. That femininity is not about how you walk or how you dress. It's your aura, it's your mindset, it's how you carry yourself. So being feminine to a man is totally different than what a lot of the toxic feminine coaches are teaching about. They're basically teaching seduction tactics. You know, how to appear like a damsel in distress, how to seduce a man with your outfit, with your makeup, with your lipstick. I've never even watched any of the stuff, but I just know that's what's being taught because I understand the world. And because I've heard women say, Tony, there's femininity coaches teaching, you know, how to basically seduce a man and how to get a high earning man. And so I already know what's being said. I ain't got time to watch this stuff, probably make me throw up in my mouth. And then on the male side of things, so the men gonna see that and they're like, oh, you trying to play us, or you trying to trick us, trying to fool us. And then on the male side of things, you got the red pill community, and you have the MGTOW community, you have the high value man community, and the alpha male strategies community. So now you got all these communities over here, and a lot of them are kind of against women. It's like a competition. Like, who is the prize? Who brings the most to the table? Who should have the leverage? who's in the driver's seat, who's the head, who's the tail. And so because of these opposing sides, it's creating division between the genders. So having this division, men are subconsciously seeing women like opponents. And men are looking at women despising the woman instead of desiring the woman. Despise, desire, two different type of D's. And so a man kind of doesn't want to approach a woman today because he's looking at it as a lose-lose situation. He's looking at it like, oh, she's gonna get me for my money, she's gonna use me, she's gonna seduce me with her body, she's gonna have me paying her bills, and then if I make one mistake, she's gonna divorce me, she's gonna take half, I gotta lose all my net worth, all my wealth, and I gotta be paying her for years. And so it's a lose-lose. And he feels that way because he feels like he doesn't know what type of woman he can trust. And so men are standing back and not approaching a woman. Genuine men, they're not approaching a woman and kind of waiting to meet this woman through a warm lead, through a organic meeting, like being in the same church group or being in the same interest group or hobby group, and being able to watch this woman several days from several ways and see her in different environments or different outfits and just try to study her from a distance before going to shoot his shot. And so that division is causing a huge breakdown between the sexes. And then with just the attitudes, is happening inside of this division, the attitudes of males, the attitudes of females, and it's just driving a wedge between these two genders. Now, the fourth reason I would say men are not approaching women, and I'm not sure I really believe this, but I've heard it said, and that is the Me Too movement. So now, some men meet their woman in the gym, men meet their woman in the workplace, men meet their woman at the church. So in certain environments where a man would have in the past approached a woman, now men are saying that they fear that if they approach the woman at work or at church or at the gym, the woman will go to the head of the building and say, this man is actually harassing me and by looking at me too hard or too long and positioning himself near me, and he approached me, and I don't want to be approached while I'm working out, and I don't want to be approached while I'm in the house of the Lord, or I don't want to be approached while I'm at my job trying to earn a living. And so this is happening. And the thing is, it may be a handful of women who have gone through toxic situations with that approach, or a man actually that harassing her and positioning himself in a predatory way. And from there, her going and telling on a man who was guilty of it has now scared off all of the other men who would be doing it genuinely. And so you kind of have to, so while it sounds like an excuse for men not to approach women, you kind of got to look at it from an honest man's perspective. And if he saw his coworker get rolled up or get suspended because he was, staring at this woman every day in the break room, and then kind of went to stand beside her and the woman felt creeped out. And so it's kind of the thing like with the lady who got Emmett Till in trouble and he lost his life. That is a thing in some women who want to feel special, and they want to make a big deal about a man looking at them, and it comes from low self-esteem and insecurity. And so they want to turn it into something and make it something that it's not, just so they can make their boyfriend or their husband jealous, to make them think, oh, men are attracted to me, or to make other women jealous, oh, men are attracted to me. Why are so many? And some women ask me that, like, Tony, why do men stop me all the time? I'm tired of being stopped. And Tony, why does a man stare at me all the time? And why do men tell me that I'm beautiful and that I look unreal and unattainable? And it's just, some women want to hear from somebody else, oh, because you are beautiful, because you are all that, because you are. And so those handful of women will then take and ruin it for the women who have a pure and genuine heart, and then also the men who have a pure and genuine heart. So what happens is, a lot of women come and say, Tony, I like this guy at work and we make eyes, but he never says anything. I cannot tell you how many times a woman has said that to me on the Q&A or in an email or a message, and I'm like, So now it made me think, like, because at first I was like, man, y'all making an excuse about this Me Too movement stuff. That stuff is not about approaching somebody. It's about really doing something. But then when I really thought about it, unbiasedly, and sat back and looked, I'm like, you know what? I have even come across women who tried to make a big deal out of something that was nothing, and that can really get you in trouble. And so imagine if a woman goes to the pastor just because she wants to be seen by the pastor and she wants to be heard by the pastor, and she may have a spirit that she thinks she's beautiful and she wants the pastor to lay eyes on her. So she write in and request a meeting with the pastor to tell him, I'm very uncomfortable in your church because Brother John is always looking at me, licking his chops like he undressed me with his eyes. And that may not be, and if that is not true, but Brother John get called out on that and he gets in trouble, and he a deacon or he a usher, and now he got to sit down for a few weeks because it could be one woman with the wrong type of spirit who come to cause division and chaos. And see, men, we learn real easy. We learn easy, although it may not seem that we're in a relationship. But that's why the army a lot of times made up of men getting yelled and cursed out. And even with prison, that's why it's not a lot of breakouts and a lot of riots in prison, because men are creatures of habit. So we do better with structure, like the army and like prison. Unfortunately, when we have too much freedom, that's when we become our own worst enemy. So if a man sees that this guy got in trouble because he was making eyes with this woman, or he approached this woman and she felt offended, that's all he needs. That's all we need as men, to never approach nobody, and just use that as our reasoning or excuse, whatever you call it, to not muster up the courage to go approach somebody. And so that's what you have to realize and understand, that is a real thing today. That as good as the movement was for the women who needed that protection, that vindication, that them consequences to be levied upon the men who did the wrong thing toward them, as good as it was, it's always two sides to a coin. So on the other side, it's a lot of other women who nothing has happened to them like that, and they want a man to approach her at work. She wants to be approached at work by this man that she thinks is a handsome, well-carried man, or this man at church, or this man at the gym, or in whatever other establishment or building. And she's just pulling her hair out, wondering, why won't this guy approach me? And that could be the reason. And so you got to understand that. So I know the question asked, well, Tony, should I approach him? And it's not about approaching him. It's more so about looking at him, making eye contact, smiling. If you're in the vicinity, hi, how are you? Being nice, being cordial, to where it's kind of like you rolling out the red carpet to say, hey, I will not bite. I made eye contact with you as well. I spoke to you as well. It's not about going up, hey, how are you? My name is, Jessica, and I want to know, are you single? No, you ain't got to do all that. You ain't got to do all that. But just what a man needs is just a little eye contact, a little smile, a little head nod, a little how are you? Just to know that you are approachable and available, so to speak. And I noticed this, me being a man and me being out and me moving around, I'm like, okay, these teachings getting around, because I noticed as a married man, which if being a married man, if I'm holding my phone in my hand and I'm walking through a store, I'm walking through the mall and my phone is in my hand and I just was texting on it, and a woman is walking like this and my phone in my hand, or she walking like this, she can't see my ring. She can't see that I'm married. And so I noticed women looking at me, hi, how are you? And going, and that wasn't the norm. But now I notice a lot of women trying to be more friendly, trying to be more open if they see a man in public, that they could potentially be attracted to. Me being a married man, I can't do nothing but speak back to her. But what she just did is let me know that she's approachable. Her guard is down. She's not acting like a pit bull on edge, And then you'll see women who I'm out and about, and there's women who they walk with their head down, or their head in the clouds, or their head in their phone, and they speed walking and they don't look left or right. Their eyes is on the prize. I could look directly at a woman while I'm walking past her, me being aware of my surroundings and looking at every single thing, not in a lustful way. I could look directly at a woman and she could see me at her peripheral, of course, but she looking straight ahead. And so what that says to me as a man, and if I was a single man, it still would say the same thing. What it says is she's not interested in being stopped, interrupted, approached, and or she's taken. And so that's how men are reading the situation. So instead of approaching him and shooting your shot as a woman, just show yourself friendly, show yourself kind, show yourself open and available to a man speaking to you and or approaching you. Now, the fifth reason I would say men aren't approaching women today is fear. Now, this has always been there, and I briefly touched on this earlier, but it's just fear. I've heard it said that 70% of men are introverts, and that's something that is very real. And so everybody hates rejection. I've been getting a question a lot lately from women saying, Tony, how to deal with rejection, And I'm like, wow, I didn't know women struggle with that as much or got rejected like that, because typically men sleep with anything. And so I've just kind of been surprised at the amount of women getting rejected and feeling rejected, and that really has to do with more of these podcasts and stuff making men feel like we are the prize. And so men are literally asking women, what do you bring to the table, and saying it out of their mouth, putting the woman on a witness stand, on an interview chair, to debase her and make her feel inadequate and less than, and like she has to prove herself for him. So a lot of women are going through this deep sense of rejection, and men have always gone through that, and men have always felt that and had to deal with that, and women didn't have to deal with it as much in the past before all this toxicity started to happen, because a man was doing all the approaching. So if a man approaches a woman, half the battle is already won, because she knows he's attracted to her. So she doesn't necessarily have to worry about rejection. The rejection may come in later, like if he cheats on her, or their personalities don't mesh. He liked the way she looked, but their personalities don't mesh, and so he decides to break up. And so then the rejection comes in. Whereas for men, the rejection is just right out the gate. Approach a woman, try to talk to her. I'm not interested. I got a boyfriend. No, thank you. And so imagine how that feels. And some people don't know how to handle it. And so as you look around, you'll notice it's when you watch the news, it's several women who have lost their life from just turning a man down. And he didn't know how to accept it. He didn't know how to deal with it. I remember seeing them guys in New York, I think, who one of the guys jumped on a woman and like beat her and bit her. And at first he was trying to shoot his shot at her. And because she rejected him, that was so embarrassing to him in front of his friends. And men don't take it light on a guy who gets rejected. So if a guy with his homeboys and he go up to a woman and try to get her number, and she says she's not interested or no thank you, when that guy go back to his friends, he is going to be roasted for days to come, non-stop. It's going to be full-on sessions of just roasting him and reenactments and over exaggerations. And your friends, just as men, your friends just do not take it easy on you. I remember we had a homeboy. He was the only one with a car. And it's like, man, this man got a car. Get us point A to point B. Get us to where we got to go. And I had a homeboy who was kind of like a clown. You know, it's kind of like a clowner. He liked to tell jokes. And we getting ready to pull up to the venue, to the valet. I think we was going to homecoming or some kind of dance. And the homeboy, he was like, hey man, when you pull up here, he's from New York. He's like, man, when you pull up, the valet man's gonna ask you, you want me to park this or drive it off a cliff? And oh my goodness, floodgates open. We was laughing so hard. I still be using that today on some of my videos. You done heard me say that because that thing stuck with me my whole life. And so my homeboy driving, he just, oh, whatever, man, whatever. Oh, man, leave my car alone, And that's just what you go through. So the thing about it today is, more so than ever now, is men just, that fear of rejection. And they reading about themselves online. They hearing about themselves. It's women online being more emboldened to belittle men. I saw a young lady the other day, and she was not what men describe as what they want, as far as aesthetics. And the young man was asking her questions, and then asking another young man questions. And he asked her, would you holler at him? Would you talk to me? Would you talk to him? And they had to bleep out what she was saying, because she was saying curse words. She was like, blah, 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 blah. No. And basically she was saying, no, absolutely not. Look at him. Look at what he looked like. And so when men see that kind of stuff online, and they look at this young man and don't nothing look wrong with him, I'm like, shoot, I would have liked to be that young man. That young man looked about 6'3", 6'4". I could have used a few of them inches. And then it's coming from a woman, a young lady who, she don't look like a prize to this young man in the least. And I'm like, if she this emboldened, then what would the young ladies who actually are desired by a man, what kind of energy they gonna have? And so men, for the most part, don't know how to fail. And that's why you gotta let your kids fail sometimes. That's why you gotta let them see what it feels like. I remember a lady told me, when I told her my son got straight A's, no A minuses, and she said, put him in harder classes. She said, keep putting him in the hardest classes possible, because he need to know what failure feels like. He in really hard class right now, all honors class and one AP class, and he still got straight A's. He barely made it by the skin of his teeth, but he still did it. So he still has not had a A minus. So he don't know what that feeling feel like. And what the lady told me, she said when her daughter was just like that, straight A's all the way through school, she said when she got to college, she got a B for the first time in her life. And she said her daughter she said it ruined her. She said she went into deep, dark depression. Say she had to get therapy. It was her identity was wrapped up in her grades. And so when she got a B, she felt worthless, like it was over for her, it was the end of her life. And so that's the same way people idolize their virginity. That's the same way people may idolize their looks or their body. And so the first time we experience failure, we experience rejection, it almost takes us out. And so because a lot of men don't know how to handle it and don't know how to bounce back from it, it's like, think about the first time you got fired. You had nightmares about that job for months in a lot of cases. Or if you ever got dumped, you have nightmares about that. And that's human. But men spend a lot more up here sometimes too. And when it comes to things like rejection, and so that fear is crippling a lot of men, because now with social media, you get to see the faces played out. You get to see the reaction played out online. You get to see the cyber bullying. You get to see all that, and you internalize it as if it happened to you, and it didn't even happen to you. So those are the top 5 reasons I would say. Now, yeah, you can have some caveats and nuances in there, and of course, there's some more reasons, but those are the top 5 that came to mind when I started thinking about this. And the only thing that, and like I said earlier, I'm gonna touch on why you shouldn't worry about it too much. And the only thing that a woman could do is, like what I said, just keep your head up, meaning literally walk with your head up and not down and not in your phone. Have your head on a swivel. Make eye contact, look pleasant, give a little smile, a little head nod. If you in speaking vicinity, you can say, "How are you?" Something like that. And it just makes you appear approachable. So that if this man is single, and some married men gonna holler at you, you're gonna take the opportunity. But when you find out they married, then you go on about your business and just count it all joy. Just take it as, wow, I'm that fly that this man was ready to risk his marriage on. Like, just take it like that. Don't get frustrated by it. Don't get mad by it. At the end of the day, it's a weird compliment. At the end of the day, it's not you. It ain't. It just, this man was finna risk it all. That's what your aura did to him. So appreciate that and know that eventually that's gonna be a single man on the other end of your aura. And that's all you could do. But here's the thing. Despite all of those reasons that I gave you, the man that is for you is going to approach you. Nothing in the world is going to stand between him and you. He's not going to let anything or anybody. The man that's for you, he'll look at your eyebrow, whether they wispy and about gone or whether they thick and full or painted on. He will look at that nose, he'll look at that ear, he'll look at that hair, he'll look at them jeans, or how your hips set, how your stomach is, your arms, whatever it is, however you built. And he gonna be attracted to all of that right there. And he gonna say, it don't matter what her nose and what her lips and what her teeth look like, what her chin look like, if your chin covered a little bit by the mask too, because I see my wife. That's the woman I saw walking through my dreams. That's what he gonna say, and he gonna approach you. And then, regardless of the mask, let's remove the mask and say that, okay, he could see you fully. The Me Too movement, fear, all the other things I mentioned, none of that is gonna stand in his way. if he feels like you are the one for him. He gonna overcome all that. Whatever he got to do, he gonna figure out a way to shoot his shot. If he got to go through a home girl of yours, a lady in the office to where it's a woman coming to you and not him, whatever he got to do based on the circumstance situation, that's what he's gonna do, and that's all you need to worry about. If you walk past 100 men and none of them approach you, okay, that one your husband. That 101 is the one. And you got to understand that, be okay with that, and just all you need is one. You just need one. You need one. You don't need 100. You don't need 1,000. You don't need 10. You just need one. So just worry about that one, and everything else will take care of itself. Hey, this is Tony Gaskins. God bless you. We'll talk soon.